Hey, yeah, hey, it's Kimberly Robinson Alexander with the B-InPowerD movement, and I am so excited on this Friday evening to be joined by Dr. Melina Abdullah. She is the co-founder of the Black Lives Matters movement and Black Lives Matters Los Angeles, where she is also the director. She is a mother of three. She is a professor and she is a former vice presidential candidate, the first and only Muslim woman to have ever been selected to run for the vice presidency. I listen, I don't geek out about a whole lot of things, but I'm geeking out tonight. And I am so happy to have you with me. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really, really honored. And to be clear, I organize with Black Lives Matter Grassroots, which is the boots on the ground. We're the one who stand on front lines, not on red carpets. And we got people power, not money power. So
that's that's actually a great place to start because when Black Lives Matter, the hashtag hit the scene. It hit the scene and it went ablaze. You know, it was the thing. It was catchy. It was quick, and it moved faster than the explanation of what it was could. Right. And so let's go back to that. Let's talk about some of the things that came out of Black Lives Matter, the statement, and exactly what it means to be grassroots.
Sure. So Black Lives Matter was born as a movement. So we were already in the streets for 3 days before the hashtag went up on Facebook. So we were organizing here in Los Angeles, had been organizing. Thousands of people were in the streets. And then there was a sister who I'd been organizing with before that named Patrisse Cullors, who was friends with a woman named Alicia Garza. Alicia is the one who wrote the love letter to Black people and signed it Black Lives Matter. And 3 days into our protests, I got a text message that originated with Patrisse that said to meet at this Black artist community that she lived in at 9 p.m. Again, we'd been in the streets for 3 days. So it was me and my students. You know, you got kids, I got kids, me and my biological children. I'm also a single mother, right? So my spirit babies and my birthed babies were all in the streets, but there were thousands of people in the streets. And so about 30 of my spirit babies and I came, and Patrisse brought her artist friends, and we met and we pledged to build a movement, not a moment. And that movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, was birthed right here in Los Angeles and then grew to within about a year and a half. Because so we're talking July 13th, 2013 was the day that Trayvon Martin's killer was acquitted, right? George Zimmerman was acquitted on July 13th, 2013. So we were organizing, but then about a year later, Mike Brown was killed August 9th, 2014 in Ferguson. And that really exploded the movement beyond LA. And there were a couple of other spaces, the Bay Area, New York, a couple of other spaces were building Black Lives Matter. But we were able to really grow after the murder of Mike Brown and grew to be what's now measured as the largest racial justice movement in global history. And that was birthed with we had no money. We had no platforms. It was just moms like you and me and babas and workers and, who decided we're not going to let this be the world that our children inherit. Our children are going to inherit a better world, and we're going to make it be so. And so if we fast forward, the confusion now is in 2020, when people poured into the movement after the murders of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor. Now, there's money all of a sudden. And there's always people looking to steal money. And unfortunately, many of them stole the money and stole the platforms, and that's who they are. If you go to BLK Lives Matter, they wrestled the movement away from us, right? Because we weren't paid, we were not, lawyers, and we thought everybody was in it for the movement. And unfortunately, there were people who had their sights set on stealing what we built, and they stole that, but they can't steal our will, and they can't steal our work. And so we continue to organize under the banner of BLM Grassroots, which is now 51 chapters all around the world.
Yes, that's what's up. That's what's up.
I'm gonna recruit you.
Listen. There is a sister organization that I am the former executive director of, Moms of Black Boys United. And so I was one of the founding members for that organization, as well as executive director until January 2025. So when you say grassroots, when you say, hitting the ground running, just having your will, my thing has always been, you have to move your outrage to action. Like, we cannot continue to hashtag and post and talk about it without being about it. Like, bottom line.
That's right.
My life slogan is, I didn't birth babies to bury them. And I tell everybody, I mean that from the innermost, the most visceral place of my body, because becoming a mother and bringing one of the most unnatural things in this world is burying something you birthed. And as I expand and expound, it is also our intellectual gifts. It is our, ingenuity. It is our creativity. It is all of the things that come from within us that have been snuffed out. Our ability to make something out of nothing and then have it served right from underneath us is crazy. I was talking to my daughter the other day. She's 25. And we were talking about how Elvis Presley stole Big Mama Thornton's mute, like the thing that happened over generations and generations. And one of the hardest things to do, something we both have done, is to stand with families who are grieving from every cell in their body.
Right.
To experience that vicarious grief and not have a place to put it. There is no box. There's no capsule. It cannot be frozen until another time. It is right now, and it encompasses every part of you. How do you manage that?
I don't know that. I mean, I think probably for both you and I don't have to manage it. And I'm grateful that it's not my grief. It's my grief because I love all our babies. But I'm grateful that all of my babies are with me. All of my babies are here. And I'm grateful. And part of my gratitude, part of my gratefulness is doing all that I can, arm in arm with the mamas and aunties who've had to bury their babies, right? So I always, it's a long story, so I won't go into the story, but it's really interesting, that for us, they talk about 6 degrees of separation. I feel like Black folks, it's 2 degrees of separation, right? Maybe 1, right? That my family is not that big, but I've discovered family through this work. So one of the families that we organize with, the founder of our Justice Families and the founder of our Black Lives Matter Grassroots Florida chapter, is the mom, the parents, but the mom of Andrew Joseph III. And, you know, I won't say, I'm going to try not to say the whole story because I'm 53 and now I'd be telling lots of stories. But
I'm right there with you.
But I met her at the first Movement for Black Lives convening in 2015 in Cleveland. And there was something like, I'm a deeply spiritual person. And my name, Abdullah, means humble servant of God. So I try to be obedient to God. And God was speaking to me when I met this woman, saw this woman on a panel talking about the murder of her child at the hands of police in Florida. And something just made her so familiar. And by then I'd met hundreds of moms.
Mm-hmm.
But Deanna Joseph, I was just drawn to her. And, you know, we went back to our hotel where we were staying, and she was in the lobby, and, you know, I had my children with me, and I started talking with her. And it turned out her family, her father's family, was from Beaumont, Texas. Well, my family's from Beaumont, Texas.
Okay.
And so we start talking. I wind up calling my mother. We are blood kin, right? And so we're discovering like familial ties. Jacob Blake Sr., you remember Jacob Blake Jr. was shot in the back 7 times in Wisconsin. He survived, Black father, but he's paralyzed, right? Mm-hmm. Well, Jacob Blake Sr., I should have known because Jacob Blake Sr. be talking and I be talking, but we're related. Now it's the all different kinds of ways related, but we're related, right? And so I've discovered family through movement. But one of the things that I always tell cousin Deanna and cousin Jake is, and all of the movement families who become my family, even if we're not family, like I'm family with Deanna and Jacob, that what they do when the mother of Jalen Randall, who was killed in Houston, right? When the parents of Andrew Joseph, when, you know, the mother and auntie of Waukesha Wilson are in this movement, when the parents of Mike Brown are in this movement, 10, 12, 15 years, you know, some of them have been in it. We were just talking about Taisha Miller's mother. She's been in it more than 20 years, right? When they're committed to this justice work, that's right. Actually not for Jalen or Taisha or Andrew, because those people, their lives have already been stolen. Right. They're doing it for my children and your children. Right. And so the gratitude is, and I'll land the plane, the gratitude is this, that I don't have any of my children's names with a hashtag in front of it. And inshallah, I never will. So my work is to work alongside of these families who've been willing to give, cousin Deanna always says, turn your pain into purpose, right?
That's right.
They've been willing to turn their pain into purpose so that my son, who's now 16, broad shoulders, deep voice, can walk home from school in safety. Yep. And the work that they do makes it safer for them. So I feel a debt of gratitude to them. And what did you call it? Vicarious pain, whatever vicarious pain that I carry, I'm grateful to carry it vicariously. I don't ever want to carry it first.
And I'm right there with you. As you were talking, so my sons are a little bit older. My children, I have a girl that's 32. I have a boy that's 27, a girl that's 25, and then a son that's almost 20. And I remember when my 27-year-old son started driving. And it's everything you know that's real, and the idea that you don't want to remove or hinder or barricade things away from the natural experiences of your children. And it's something that I have had this internal and sometimes external argument about a lot, because my 25-year-old doesn't drive. She walks to the store, and I'll tell her, come back, be back before it gets dark outside. And when my 20-year-old is moving about the community, it's all of the things that we know. And like you, I feel blessed that none of my children, thank God, are a hashtag. But all of our children have been stolen from. They have been stolen. Innocence has been stolen. They're 11 and we're having to talk, right?
Right.
Boyish behaviors and ages and stages behaviors have been stolen when they are over disciplined in school. They are over incarcerated, when they are misdiagnosed, overdiagnosed, under or over medicated, all of those things. Tell me about the gap. Like there is the school to prison pipeline, and we know that there is the cradle to grave agenda. How does Black Lives Matter's Grassroots work towards changing the perception as a whole for our community?
That's a big question. I'm going to kind of couch it in who I am as a mom, right? And one of the, I think early on in Black Lives Matter, so Black Lives Matter is now 13, almost 14 years old, right? My youngest child is 16. So my kids are close to yours, 16, 19, and 22, right? And early on, I had been divorced for 2 years, I guess, at the start of Black Lives Matter. And early on, when their father was trying to be present, he's not now, right? But trying to pretend to be present, he kind of signaled something about like innocence, or like he didn't want them in movement, even though I've always been an organizer. I've never not been an organizer. When there was Occupy, we were out for Occupy. So what you talking about?
That's right.
You were mad and didn't want to be out. I still brought the kids out. They were teaching workshops at the Occupy encampment, right? And so why you think we're not going to be part of this when it's explicitly about Black people, right?
That's right.
And so there was some conversation. But what I kind of arrived at is it's helpful to the children for them to be a part of a movement, right? So my middle child is my free spirit, right? She is everything. And she also has some learning disabilities that were, she was criminalized in school. So in the 6th grade, when she was 11 years old, she had police called on her 8 times in a single semester. What? And it was for, let me tell you, it wasn't even for like you go, oh, she must have been fighting or no. She had school police called on her, but school police still have guns, right? They're still cops, right? They are not, you're not talking about the people that I used to have, like Mr. Williams, who had a yellow vest and that was it, right?
Baby.
So school police got assault rifles in their trunks. They got a grenade launcher. They got, so these are cops. She
Mm.
had school police called on her 8 times in a single semester. The first time for having a look in her eye, second time for having slime in her pocket, third time for telling some boy that he should he kept passing gas in class, and she told him, well, that's because you drink all that cow's milk. Stop drinking cow's milk, right? That's actually how you're not wrong, right? And eventually I said, I don't care if my child only has to sit in her counselor's office. She is not going back to this. It was one particular teacher that was doing this. She's not going back to his class.
Mm-hmm.
But what wound up happening is we had birthed the Black Lives Matter Youth Vanguard
Mm-hmm.
that was fighting for the end of random searches and the end of school police. And so my children, one of the ways they cope with the oppression is to know that they don't have to just submit to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I've raised them in that way, that yes, this world is going to try to take from you, but you don't have to give it. We going to fight, and your mama's going to fight with you. The community, you got a whole, like with Black Lives Matter, you got a whole band of people.
Mm-hmm.
My child's senior year, I don't know why that school principal called police on the kids who went out and protested, because within 30 minutes, my child called me and said, look, the principal called LAPD on the kids who left campus to protest, right? Within 30 minutes, we had filled that principal's office with like 25 Black parents. It was white principal.
Mm.
She was shaking in her boots, right? Okay. And that is the last time. That is the last time she's done that, So I think that, I guess here we go. Here's the wrap up. That for me, the greatest thing that we can do for our children is to teach them that they actually have power.
That's right.
And they don't have to submit when they try to criminalize our girls and boys in schools, right? When they try to put targets on our children's backs as they walk home from school, build community around them, but also teach them the power of their own agency. Yes, we want them to get home. Mm-hmm. But I'll go back to Andrew Joseph III. He was 14 years old, 8th grader, right? They killed this boy. He was an honor roll student. Mm-hmm. They killed this boy. There was no amount of him doing the right thing that would have saved his life.
Right.
The only way we save them is to transform the system, because the issue is not our children. The issue is the system that preys on them.
That's right. That's right. And it is, I think that is how my children are as well. And that is what B-InPowerD is about. And that is why it is written in the way that is written. So be in your power.
Right.
Because we all have it. Mm-hmm. We all have it. And we all have it in so many ways that we give up on a regular basis, either because no one has empowered us, we don't have the information, we don't have the access, or whatever the case is. And it is so important to me. I was a young parent. My listeners have heard me talk about being 15 and pregnant, and 16 when I had my first daughter, 2 months after her father was murdered in Harlem, and going through my growing up period, growing through all of the things that I had to deal with and come to. And one of the biggest things that saved me was no is transformable. And if you told me no, I was going to find another way to do it. And I don't know what that or where that will came from, other than divine power. And for me, there just wasn't a highway option. And I believe that I have given all of my children that, an understanding that there is a way to get everything done. And if our counterparts can figure it out every single time, then we can too. I want to talk about community, because I don't care what the banner is, whether it's Black Lives Matter's Grassroots, whether it's B-InPowerD. The thing that we have in common when I send an email from a website and say, I want to have this conversation, get a response, and 3 weeks later, I'm sitting having that conversation, is community. And understanding that I need you and you need me. How do you build that community? What is the connective tissue that gets you to 14 years?
One, I'm not going to stop. That's it. I told somebody, I said, we want you to do what you signed up to do. But if you're not going to do what you signed up to do, I'm not going to let it fall. And that's that. And you find other like-minded folks. So that's my attitude, but that's also Sister Jan's attitude. That's also Baba Achilles' attitude, right? Like, I got to pull Sheila back. I'm like, you're supposed to be doing policy work. Why are you doing the logistics on this, right? Because that's the attitude. Like, this is about our people. This is about our children. This is about the world that we want and we can have. And so we build, Ella Baker used to talk about group-centered leadership, right? So I feel like community comes from recognizing, when you just said, you need me and I need you, right? Community comes from, group-centered leadership, where we all say, look, we collectively agreed, we're going to work on a people's budget, right? But I can't carry the whole people's budget with, this is something we do in LA, where we get thousands of people to weigh in on where they want their tax dollars to go. I can't do all of the outreach. I can't do it all by myself, and I'm not going to resonate with everybody, right? Baba Achilles, he says it, so I'll say it. He's 77 years old. And we used to call him Baba Steal Your Grandma, right? 7 years old and fly, right? Baba Achilles, if you got to go into a room of Black women, especially if they're even more seasoned than me, you want to send Baba Achilles in there.
That's right. Sound like it.
It is like it, right? I also know that, like, I don't believe in Black girl magic, because I think it minimizes Black women's work, right? That it's not magic. I stayed up all night doing this, right? It was not a fairy that cleaned the bathroom, right? It was me, right? But there is a piece of magic that this one sister, I mentioned Jan, we all have gifts, right? I don't know what it is about Jan. She does put in the work, but she also has this magical power that if Jan says, Kimberly, can you show up tomorrow at 8 a.m.? You're going to say yes, because you cannot tell Jan no. I don't know why, right?
That's my kindred spirit. I got that gift too.
I do not. But I at least know to say, well, look, let Jan ask him, right? Now I know.
That's your gift. You know who to send.
Right. And so group-centered leadership is about that. And then in those gifts, like when all of us recognize our gifts, but also say, this is too important to let it fall, I think you find community, but you also find, Baba Achilles teaches us that we have to claim our victories, right? Like, you find victory in the work, because you have a bunch of folks who are willing to use their gift and aren't going to let the struggle fall, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's great as mamas, right? Like, because in the movement, you also, I talk to my children because in 2020, especially, we've had a lot of threats. So my house has been swatted 3 times. I had a white supremacist pull up in a motorhome. They say it was full of explosives. I've been hit in the back of the head, all this stuff. And we've had conversations about it and, you know, talking about what they need to do. And my oldest child says, well, I don't want anything to happen to you. But if it does, we got a million aunties.
That's right.
And I'm grateful that we also built that kind of movement. My computer is dying, so I'm going to carry it with me over to this charger.
No,
and we're just going to be in another spot for a minute.
That's okay.
Okay.
This is a live conversation. If you didn't believe it, now you do. We're dealing with regular real world stuff. I was having a conversation a few months ago and my dog came and knocked over a lamp and the whole bed. I was like, listen, this is what live podcasting does for you.
That's right.
Funny story when you said about magic. I remember my oldest daughter, Rita, she said to me, I stole the joy out of holidays because there was no Santa Claus. And I was like, you're not going to have no magic man coming down no chimney we don't have.
Right.
You know, like, so
credit for your
that's what made me, it made me think of that. Like, you know, like, no, we are putting in the work. Collectively, we are, you know, people like to say Black women can't work together, Black people can't work together. We cannot forge the kinds of relationships that are required to do the work that we're doing. And I always like to point out, yes, we can, and here's how we've proven it. Because we continue to do it. And we don't claim that there's not disagreement. We don't claim that there's not discord, but what we're doing in this movement is so much more important than that disagreement and that discord, that we cannot help but to continue to move forward, because what is the alternative? You know, and it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
You know, and so if we burn our legs out, you know, with the figurative sprinting, the arguments, the figurative, you know, hills, dying on specific hills and all of that other stuff, instead of being collaborative, then we are not pushing forward the mission. So that is what being in the community brings you. It brings you a different understanding and viewpoint of how tunnel vision can dismantle, and why the bigger picture is so important.
That's right. I also think, Sister Kimberly, like, I feel gratitude meeting you, right? And actually your organization, the former organization, MOB, right? Mothers of Black Women. I remember sharing stories on your Facebook group, because you had a massive Facebook group. And I was just grateful that you would repost things. And now I feel grateful to be in this conversation, because, you know, we're working to build support around our Black Lives Matter Grassroots Houston chapter, which is led by Jalen Randall's family, right? And I'm going, well, the next time we come out there,
absolutely,
up, right?
That's right.
You know, because I think when you talk about Black women working together, my experience has been that my closest sisters are the ones, I still have sisters who are not in movement, but the ones that I've made during adulthood, my closest sisters are movement sisters, because it also, I think it's telling, when you're in movement, it means that you care about people. You talked about empathy. You care about people. Don't you want a friend, a sister who has empathy, right? Don't you want a sister who says, no, I'm not going to make you stay up all night. Let me take half that call list, right?
Mm-hmm. That's
and,
right.
And I think that I haven't really, the people who've been betrayers, and I'm going to be real clear, we have had massive betrayals. I also, and stop me if I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it until you stop me.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in naming the names.
Mm-hmm.
So the thieves who stole Black Lives Matter are a Zionist Black man named Shalomia Bowers,
Mm-hmm.
a woman named Cecily Gay, and another woman named Dejanay Parker. They were never in movement in the first place, right? Those are the people who are the betrayers. I haven't had a situation, though, with sisters who are really 10 toes down in movement being betrayers.
Mm-hmm.
What you talked about, with disagreements, yeah, I had a disagreement last night. We might disagree on where to order Jamaican patties from. Right? So I had that disagreement with my own real sister. That's fine. We can disagree over that, right? We've also settled, because we've been in movement a long time, that everybody has their own, everybody's a weirdo and has their own idiosyncrasies. And Sheila's gonna tell you a corny joke. And Kim is gonna laugh at an inappropriate time. And I'm gonna tell too many stories and talk too much. And we accept that because we're family. And the same thing is true in family. Like my Baba, I always have to pinch the kids, because when we're doing family prayer before a meal, right? He's going a long time. And everybody, this is what family is and does. And we have idiosyncrasies, but we don't have betrayals within the real movement unless they weren't of the movement in the first place.
Amen. That's right. I tell you, I was born and raised in Harlem, and I have or had the same friends. My now cousin. If you met me in recent years, you would never know she wasn't my biological cousin,
Right.
who I've known for 42 years, 43
Right.
years. Right. And
so you 4 years, you've been friends since you were 4. Right. Okay.
You
were a preschooler together. Right.
Exactly. I'm godmother to all her children.
Right.
And all of that stuff. But when I got into organized movement, because like you, I've always been in the movement, right? But when I got into organized movement, like I am an introvert, neurospicy chick that's like, no new friends, no, nope, I got them. I got the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, friends, and that's it. It's not going to happen. But what the organized work brought me was a whole host of new friends.
Right.
Like people someone like me who does not use the word friend lightly, who I would get on a plane and show up for you tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And these people, when I had problems in schools for my children, I have an attorney over here who's going to write a letter. I got this one who's going to come with me to the school board meeting. And they are a phone call, an email, a doorbell ring away. So when you talk about how the movement has brought you together, it resonates so much with me, because some of my closest friends and people who I speak to at this point every single day came when I repurposed my fear. When I said I am no longer going to be paralyzed by my fear, but I'm going to activate, because if I sit still, they sit still, and we don't need a generation of children, adults, leaders, parents who sit still.
Right. That's right.
What I do know, though, is that in my movement, the physical movement that the movement gives us, self-care had to become paramount. And some days I'm not good at that. Still, nurse by trade. I know, listen, baby, I will call you on the phone and be like, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. Nope. I said go take a nap. Meanwhile, I've been up for 48. I know how to tell you. I know how to tell you what to do. How do you protect your peace?
So I don't know why I feel compelled to say this. Yesterday we got a kitten. And I didn't want the kitten, but my son wanted the kitten. But for the last 2 days, I've been letting that kitten lay up on my shoulder. And I was like, maybe I do believe in self-care because I feel so, maybe I believe in, what are they? Comfort animals, right?
Okay.
Oh, this cat is, makes my heart just pitter-patter, right? But people will laugh at me because I am the biggest opponent of self-care in the world. I don't believe in self-care because I think that people often use the term self-care in order to abuse me, in order to turn me into a mule. So because they need to, especially the younger ones, I'm at capacity, commit to things and then not follow through because something else was going on. Well, that work that you had on your plate, you just shoved onto my plate. So self-care becomes selfish care, right? And I don't like it. What I do believe in is community care, which I feel like that's what you're giving voice to, right? So when you see me and you say, look, sis, I know what your schedule has been. Easter is Easter, right? Rest. Don't do nothing. You could send a text on Monday. I'm telling you. Or when you say, and I have a sister friend, Tabitha, who actually y'all would like each other. She's an empath too. And she's from Houston, actually. Tabitha will go, you know what? Let's just let's DoorDash you dinner tonight. Right? I think that is really beautiful. And so that's what I see as community care. I also, somebody had to hit me to, you do actually do self-care. So I'm adamant about walking. So I walk every single day, like 3 to 4 miles a day. I don't care. I'm going to. And if it was necessary, it's not necessary today, but if it was necessary, I'd just tell you, look, I'm still going to show up, but we're going to have to show up while I'm walking. I do it on my phone. And I do almost all my Zoom meetings I'm walking. I stopped meeting with people for meals for the most part, because we can meet and walk and we can both get healthier, right? So I'm adamant about walking. Everybody knows that if we at a conference, you can find me in the lobby with the dominoes. Right? So those things are things that I'm protective of. And other than that, though, I do believe in, especially in moments like this, when we are living under like an all-out war on Black people, all that sitting it out, I'm a eat popcorn and watch a show. You're gonna be dead then, right? Like, no, we can't afford to sit it out. We're going to fight. 2020 was another one of those moments. I believe, like, I'm talking too long, but I wake up in the morning and I think it's almost like brushing your teeth. What are you gonna do for Black freedom today? And it can be a big thing or a little thing, but what are you gonna do for Black freedom today? Some days it's the whole day. Some days I just sent 3 tweets, right? Or 3 text messages.
Mm-hmm.
But every single day, we should be doing something for the freedom of our people.
And I will challenge you.
Okay.
I'm going to challenge you, because something that can be done every single day for the freedom of our people is you taking care of you.
So here's the pushback. Yes. Here, you should whisper that to me when we're not on Zoom, because you know and I know that the ones who ain't really doing nothing anyway are going to say, my Black life matters. And so I'm entitled to this massage. You ain't never been on a front line. You don't need to recover from nothing, because you haven't been doing nothing. You've been, and I'm talking about the thieves now. Cecily Gay, you've stolen $100 million and you're vacationing every single week in Martha's Vineyard in Costa Rica, and you got a glam squad that travels with you. That is not movement. And so sometimes if you're on the front lines all the time, yes, please tell me to rest. Please tell me to take care of myself. But the ones who are going to take your advice from this conversation are not the ones who need that advice. You know,
it was a very public, private statement to you.
Yes.
I said,
I'll say that same to you. You have a right to take care of yourself. Everybody else who ain't doing nothing anyway, get on some front lines.
Amen. I want to talk about protection. You made mention about, being a single parent, having 3 children, getting threats, having stuff, show up to your doorstep. How do you protect the physical space?
I can't say everything because I want my physical space to be protected. My physical space is as physically protected as it can be.
Okay.
And I believe the greatest protector is God.
Amen.
And my grandmother used to say, do the work and live righteously. So, I try to interrogate myself all the time. And here comes the kitty cat.
I heard her.
Hi.
Let's meet the cat.
I'm your self-care.
And it's a real little kitten.
Isn't she so cute?
Girl, I don't do cats, but I got a 110-pound dog in here. Definitely not a lap dog.
I wanted a dog, and my son wanted a cat. And then he got this kitten, took him to adopt it yesterday, and now I love her.
Oh, I'm glad
you're so cute. So I believe that, every day I try to interrogate myself, and we're human beings. We are, Black women are the closest thing to God, but we are human beings, and we're flawed. And our job is to see our flaws, discover our flaws, and address them, and be as righteous as we possibly can. And I believe that when you live that way, you're protected. And so I pray for, there's a couple of times I should have been a goner. If you pull it up, there was a time when we went to the district attorney's house, and her husband pulled a gun on me and pointed it at my chest. You could tell he was unwell, and his hand was trembling. And he said, "I'll shoot you. I don't care who you are." And the gun was 6 inches from my chest. And God settled my spirit. And I said, my response to him was, "Good morning." If my response had been anything else, he would have killed me. That was God. God also, like the first time I was swatted, I was positive I was going to die. Positive. God protected me. And I think that if the work we're doing is the work that God calls us to do,
that part,
and we heed it and we do our best. We're not perfect, but do our best. And when I say we're not perfect, I don't mean that that's an excuse to do anything, right? But every day you work to become as God-like as possible. We're disciplined in our actions, but also disciplined in our spirits, because we should be humble servants of God, right? That I think that's the greatest protection.
Amen.
And community is a great protection too. Like so the way I survived that swatting is when I opened the door, I looked to my left and my whole neighborhood was out. And I still haven't been able to tell the story without crying 5 years later. But they had announced on the loudspeaker, everybody at my address, come out with your hands up. Mm-hmm. And my 3 children were in the house. So I barricaded my children in the back room and knew I had to come out, because if I didn't come out, they would come in.
That's right.
Corinne Gaines had already been killed. Mm-hmm. And if they would kill this Black mother with her baby on her lap, they would definitely come in and kill me. Mm-hmm. So I went on live because I said, at least if they gonna kill me, everybody's gonna see what they did. And I yelled to my oldest child, stay in there, don't move no matter what.
That's right.
And I will always remember Tandiwe's shriek when I opened the door. And I put my hand out and I said, there's a phone in my hand. It's just a phone, because I was living it. And Tandiwe shrieking, don't open the door. But after I put my hand out, I opened the door and I stood in my doorway and I looked to my left. And Brother Otis, who lives across the street from me, strong, tall brother, he was standing there and he said, sister, why are you coming out? And I said, my kids. Mm-hmm. And then Otis said, well, if you going, then we all going. Mm. So Otis put his body right in front of my body. And his wife, Sister Sophia, stood to my left. And I looked at the street, and the street was lined with people, neighbors I didn't even know. And we walked to the police line, and it was some bullshit. Get to the police line, and then the sergeant says something crazy. And I'm like, am I free to leave? And he was like, yes. And I wound up going, and Sophia and Otis kept my kids, and I wound up going to do what I planned to do anyway, which was some activist stuff. But community keeps us safe. That's our chant. Who keeps us safe? We keep us safe.
That's right.
And so God, community, yeah. And some other stuff. God, community, and some other stuff.
A good brother of mine on the front lines, Dr. Hassan Batts, and our community that we have together, we always say we are our own best medicine.
That's right.
We are our own best medicine. Well, I am glad that you have Brother Otis and Sister Sophia and everybody else who stood shoulder to shoulder with you on that day, because we need you. We want you. Forget about needing you. We want you. So I am glad that you are here to have this conversation with me. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about policy and allies. Let's start with policy. There's a lot of crap out there. Mm-hmm. and in 2026, it's multiplying exponentially, it seems. What policy work are you working on? What is it that we need to support? And what do you view as the community's responsibility as it relates to policy and how we exercise our political rights?
Sure. So I'm just going to name a couple of policies. One, in October of last year, we passed something called Waukesha's Law in California. It's the first law in the state of California to be named after a Black woman, and it's in honor of a sister named Waukesha Wilson, who was a Black mother who was killed inside LAPD Metro Detention Center, and her family was never notified. So it took her family 4 days of searching for her to discover that she had been killed. And so what Waukesha's Law does is it requires families to be notified within 24 hours if their loved one is killed, seriously injured, or moved. I also think of Brittany Martin, who was moved out of state without her family knowing, and they had to search for her. And so we passed that in California. We're working on it as a federal bill with Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager, who's a Black Congresswoman who represents actually my district, and she introduced it federally. We're also, though, recognizing that we can do a state plan where different states pass the same bill, right? So Waukesha's Law is what we call, non-reformist reform. It's not the transformation we need, but it is a step, right? The other piece of federal policy that we're working on is in the name of Andrew Joseph III, ending qualified immunity. And so that qualified immunity is this protective shield that goes to police who murder our people. So it protects them from being individually sued after they kill somebody. That is ridiculous. If you kill somebody, you should be held accountable. And it's used to block accountability at every single level. So Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, who I don't praise very many elected officials, but I love me some Ayanna Pressley, right? Out of Boston. And if people don't know her, she's the sister who had, alopecia, and said, forget that, I'm wearing my bald head, right? I love that. And she's beautiful like this. I love how she appears to white men, right? Like she towers over them and is gorgeous and brilliant and in her strength. Anyway, she's the author of the Ending Qualified Immunity Act. So those are two of them. And then, of course, we have at different stages, different pieces of legislation, including reparations. We want to pass real reparations that comes with a check, right? All kinds of work that we're moving, and we're really grateful to have a great policy lead. That's Sister Sheila, who works with us. Yeah.
You said when you were talking about a step, it's important for us to remember SMART goals. It's important for us to remember that for every long-term goal, there are the steps to getting there. It's also one of the things that allows us to keep driving.
Right.
Because if we stay at every stop sign, right, then we don't get anywhere. We can't stay at every stop sign. And whenever I talk about qualified immunity, that's one of the things that, like, when you can feel it in your chest, I can feel it in my chest, because as a nurse, if I have a sentinel event in the hospital and the family chooses to sue me and the hospital chooses not to protect me, they can.
Right.
They can. And in most cases, I will say, and certainly for me, if there was harm done to a patient, it would be a mistake. It would be an accident. But I still run the risk. Doctors get sued, lose homes, motor vehicle drivers get sued individually, lose homes. most people who hold a license or professional in a way that have been trained and are supposed to be expert level at the job that they do are vulnerable. So why aren't the people who can take life and liberty in 2.2 seconds?
That's right. That's right.
You know, and so I have that conversation a lot. I also have conversations a great deal with officers on every level. You know, have conversations in an effort to rehumanize the interaction, to reignite community policing, to forge some sort of togetherness and attempt to have that two-way conversation. And the onus cannot be on us to do the job that they signed on for. It's like you said, when someone signs up to do a job, your expectation is they do that job. And so I find it difficult sometimes when you have those conversations and the response is just comply. Mm-hmm. But we have such a long list of people who have just complied. How do you have those hard conversations when it feels like you're just not being heard?
Have those conversations with police?
With anybody.
I think most Black people and increasingly more brown folks increasingly know that you can't just comply, that there's too many examples. People, almost every Black person I know knows somebody who was killed or at least beaten by police. Mm-hmm. So I think our exercise is to deprogram ourselves, right? So don't ask the question anymore, well, what did they do? Doesn't matter. Most of the time they're lying about what we were accused of doing, right? Mm-hmm. And two, even if they did, even if they didn't stop at a stop sign, right? Mm-hmm. Even if they did have, now they're making everything a weapon, right? They're calling anything heavy, including a book, right? A blunt force object, right? Mm-hmm. Or they'll call a knife a kitchen knife. You in the kitchen. I'm in the kitchen right now. They're calling it an edged weapon. Find me a kitchen that doesn't have a knife, right? So we have to, I think, train ourselves and deprogram ourselves so we don't say, well, what did they do, right? I'm at a different point. I was at a point where I think I wasn't always an abolitionist, mm-hmm. right? But I'm at a point where I don't believe in conversations with police ever. Okay. I don't talk. I tell the people who surround me to keep me safe, mm-hmm. police act like they're not an option. Even if when a white supremacist was in front of my house in that motorhome, mm-hmm. guess who he called? He called the police. Guess what the police did? Protect him. Literally. Because I had called community, so community's out telling him to go. Police came and told the community to leave and let this white supremacist stay in front of my house with what he says was a RV full of explosives, and there were cameras trained on my house. with my children inside. So no, we ain't never calling the police. And I think that we should trust ourselves and our experiences much more than we trust what they tell us to do. That training is set up. The indoctrination is set up to give police power over us, because police are new millennial slave catchers. And that's not even a matter of opinion. That is what they were founded to be.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Allies. Who are your allies?
We have some John Browns. We got a few John Browns. I mean, I guess Alex Preddy and Renee Good are proof that there are some John Browns. And I want to remind us that when we talk about them standing up for migrants in Minneapolis are Black. Migrants in Minneapolis are Somalis. So we got to remember that we do have some John Browns, right? Allies are also those who are similarly situated. So Black people are us, right? The people who are around Black people. One of the reasons that we've kind of had some back and forths with some other groups of Black liberation folks is because I believe in fight nice, right? I believe in fight nice. We believe in fight nice. Black Lives Matter Grassroots believes in fight nice for many reasons. One, Black people are migrants too. Two, Black people are the moral compass of the world. It's wrong what ICE is doing, right? Three, solidarity is the most viable praxis for our liberation. But four, there has never been a time when more police is good for Black people, right? So I think that what we're starting to see out of the ICE attacks on non-Black migrant communities is them going, oh, this is what you mean, right? I was out at No Kings on Saturday. Was that last Saturday? Oh, it was just a few days ago, huh? I was out at No Kings. I say all the time that if you're going to say abolish ICE, you can't say it without saying abolish the police, or that's racist, right? It's anti-Black, right? If you're only willing to abolish ICE, that means you're saying only this particular group should be protected, or who you perceive as that group. ICE is part of policing. You have to be willing to say abolish the police too. You know who clapped the loudest for that? Brown folks. So I think that this is an unfortunate situation, but the depth of the oppression and attack on Brown migrants is bringing them in as closer allies. I'll say that's the same thing is true for when we talk about attacks on non-Black Muslims. We should be clear, Black folks, that Black people are the largest Muslim group in the country. So when we talk about attacks on Muslims, you're talking about mostly attacks on Black people, right? But non-Black Muslims, when you talk about the attacks on Muslims overall, they're starting to see that this country is not, I think about the transformation of an organization called CARE, right? Coalition of American Islamic Relations. And it used to be that they were a little bit not embracing of African American Muslims. For the last 5 years, look, I was an honoree of theirs, a national honoree last year. No, November of 2024. Jamal Bowman was, right? Linda Sarsour was there talking about how she learned everything from African Americans. And, you know, if you talk about Rashida Tlaib, who represents Detroit, she'll talk about the only Palestinian in Congress. She'll talk about she learned everything that she knows from African American women in Detroit, right? And so I think that the allies are being brought in, and our allyship and our solidarity is being strengthened, because especially under this regime, he's hitting everybody. And
Mhm.
so they're like, wait, we all getting treated like Black folks. So
Right. It's killing the illusion.
better allies. Yeah.
It's killing the illusion. I agree. We
Mhm.
are at time, and baby, I could talk to you all night, but I know we cannot sit here and do this. And I am going to boldly say we're gonna call this conversation part one.
I love that. I love that.
We're gonna call this conversation part one. But before we close for tonight, um, tell us how we can support you. Drop the website, and then give your last words as we close out tonight.
Sure. Well, I won't give my last words. I'll give Mama Asada's last words, which is, it is our duty to fight for freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and protect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains. And may she rise in power. We invite you to plug in with Black Lives Matter Grassroots. We're online at BLM Grassroots on all social media, and blmgrassroots.org is the website. And my name is Melina Abdullah. My handle is Doc Melly Mel. Would love to see you in movement, and grateful to you, Sister Kimberly. And I'm going to boldly say, I'm going to hit you up when I'm in Houston.
That's you're gonna hit me up before you in Houston. LA to see you. Travel is my drug of choice. I thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning into this part one of a continuing conversation, because the movement moves, so we will continue to converse as we push forward. Thank you so much for your time, for your generosity, and for all of the work that you do. It is needed, it is appreciated, it is loved, it is seen. You are seen, you are heard, and you are wonderful. Good night, guys.
Thank you so much, sis. Thank you for inviting me. Peace to you.